Welcome back, guys. Here we are now. We're on question 10 part B on our section 2 CSEC exam past paper questions and solutions. Now let's pull this up a bit so that we can quickly get into it. Let's just take this up. Yes, that's good enough. Now part B states the diagram below not drawn to scale. Let's just close that. Okay, the diagram below, not drawn to scale, shows the route of an airplane flying from Portcity P to Queenstown Q and then to Riversdale R. Okay, the diagram of Q, the bearing of Q from P is 132 degrees. As you can see it here on the diagram, the bearing of Q from P is 132 degrees and the angle PQR is 56 degrees. Now in part 1 here they're asking us to calculate the value of X as shown in the diagram. Now this is easy. If you notice at the north line we have the angle NQP, which is 48 here. Then we have the angle PQR, which is 56 here, and then we have X on the outside. So in calculating that angle, it's pretty easy, my friends. We could say then basically then this is angles on a straight line. So we could say then X, they're asking us to find the value of X, so we could say then X must be equal to 180, and that's part 1. So let me just label it carefully. X is equal to 180 minus, open bracket, 56 plus 48. Okay, now that must be equal to 180 minus, we know 6 plus 8, that's 14, so we put down a 4, carry a 1, and so that would give us basically 104. Okay, so that's equal to 180 minus 104. That would leave us with a 76 degrees. All right, so we have a 76 degrees there. So it's very important to note this is a geometric concept, so we have to state our reason. Okay, so in finding X now, we must state then that angles on a straight line, line sum to 180 degrees. Okay, so that's our reason for the value of X. Okay, remember, each time you find something, find a value geometrically, you have to give a reason. Now quickly let's jump into part 2 of this question. Okay, part 2, let me just split the screen here a bit. Okay, so in part 2 they're asking us that, they're stating now that the distance from Portcity P to Queenstown Q is 220 kilometers. So let's just quickly put those values in. Okay, let's just put in those values quickly. So they're saying this distance here now from Portcity to Queenstown is 220, so I'm just going to put 220 kilometers. Okay, now that distance is 220 kilometers. Now they're stating again that, and the distance from Queenstown to Riversdale is 360 kilometers. So from Queenstown here to Riversdale R, so the line segment QR, I would have a 360 kilometers there also. Okay, now they're asking us now to calculate the distance RP, and that's another easy 3 marks. So RP, so we're asked to calculate this distance here now that I've put a question mark, the distance R to P. Now if you notice what is happening here now, guys, and let me just use my pointer quickly, the line segment PQ that they have given us to be 220 kilometers. Okay, and the line segment RQ, which they have given us to be 360 kilometers. If you notice, these two line segments, they form the angle at 56 degrees. Okay, so basically the measure of the two lines that they have given us, it basically sandwiching an angle in between. Okay, when you have a situation like that where the two line segments that forms the angle or sandwiches an angle in between, you can use the cosine rule to find the side that is opposite, that is across from it. Okay, so basically I can say now then that the cosine rule states that a square, and this is in its general form, and we are working on part 2 now. The cosine rule states that a square must be equal to b square plus c square minus 2bc, the cos of a. Okay, that's the cosine rule. But in this case, we are working with P, Q, and R. Okay, so let's just substitute the values for those. Now, if this angle here at 56 is capital Q, then the side that is opposite to it must be common Q. Now, if this angle up here is capital P, then the side that is across from it, the line segment RQ, can also be called common P. Okay, and if this angle here is capital R, then the side across from it can be called common R. Okay, so we can just manipulate the general form of the cosine rule with the letters that we are given now. Okay, so basically, since they want us to find RP is the same as little q, so whatever they're asking us to find, I'm going to put on the outside. So I can say q square, little q square, common q square, must be equal to r square plus p square minus 2, and anything that is inside here, I'm going to multiply 2 by that, 2rp. Okay, and I'm taking the cos of q. Okay, so that's what we're just going to use now to substitute. We don't know what is q, that is what they're asking us to find. So I'm going to say q square is equal to, and just by substitution, r is 220. So I'm saying 220, but that is being squared. Okay, plus 360, and remember 360 is also being squared. Okay, and I'm taking subtract 2 times 220 times, and let me just pull the screen over a bit because we may just need a little bit more space to work with. Okay, and here I have a 360 close bracket cos, the cos of 56. Okay, 56 degrees. So let's just pull this over some more because I think we need the space to. So here I would have a q square must be equal to, and when I square 220 square, I should get, let me just work that out on my calculator quickly. Okay guys, so let me just explain what happened here. Here I took down my q square there. Okay, then I have 220 squared. So basically what I did, I said 220 times 220. That's what it means, okay? Because it's 220 multiplying itself 2 times, okay? So it's not 220 times 2. It is 220 times 220. Okay, and that gives us 48,400, and then I'm adding to that, and I squared 360. So basically, again, what I did, I said 360 multiplied by 360. Remember now, it's very important, it's not 360 times 2, it's 360 multiplying itself twice. So we said 360 times 360, and that gave us a 129,600. Okay, so that's what we did to get this value here. So we're going to be working out this value now, and then I'm just going to pause the video and then I explain it again what I did. Okay, good. Now again, my friends, what we did here to get this negative 88,576.15591, basically what we did, we said negative 2, this negative 2, because remember we had worked out this side already. So we said negative 2 multiplied by 220, and whatever we got for that, we multiplied that by 360, and then we multiplied that by cos 56, and you could just take out your calculator and press the cos button, cos, and then 56, or on some calculators you may have to press the 56 first, okay, depending on what type of calculator you have. Now basically, when we have calculated this value, this is what we have here, the 88,576.15591. Now if you notice, I'm working with up to 5 decimal places, because working with 5 decimal places, you run a less risk of getting a wrong answer. Okay, so I'm working with 5 dp, so it doesn't throw out my final answer much. Okay, good. So now, my friends, in this line we're going to have our Q square is equal to, and when I add 48,400 to 129,600, my result or my sum is 178, 00. Okay, and then I'm subtracting from that 88. I'm just bringing down back my 88,576.1. This is a 0.15591. Okay, so let's just subtract these two numbers now. When we minus 88, and let me just pause the video a bit. So after subtracting these two numbers, my 178,000 from 88,576.15591, we're left with Q square is equal to 89,423.84409. Now, if you notice, if you remember carefully, what we're really trying to solve for, okay, my friends, we're trying to solve for RP, which is the same as Q. Okay, so here we're not really, we don't really want Q square. We need to find what is Q. So we need to look at what is happening to Q square. It is being squared, so we must do the opposite of a square, which is to take the square root of both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to be taking the square root of both sides. So therefore Q must be equal to, and when I take the square root of my answer, so when I take the square root of this value, I'm left with 299, and I'm going to leave it there. Okay, 299, because I didn't state whether or not we should round off to 1 dp or two significant figures. Okay, so I can leave it there. So Q is really equal to 299, but please remember what we are working out. We're working out the value for RP. So now we must make our statement that RP, therefore RP is equal to, therefore RP that they ask us to calculate is equal to 299, and that's in kilometers. We must place our units. It's very important. Okay, so basically guys, that's it in regards to this question. In the next video we'll be looking at part 3. Okay, bye bye.